Welcome back to the Daily Drum on
somebody.
WHUR and Sirius XM Channel 141. This is the Insight segment. I'm Harold Fisher. 8 teams, 4 games, and anticipation on 100. The NFL playoffs get underway tomorrow. The road to the Lombardi Trophy is now wide open. We will see a new Super Bowl champion this year. We're at the Sports Reporters Roundtable to talk about the playoffs and so much more. My guests are Kelsey Nicole Nelson, award-winning sports journalist and professor of sports media at George Washington University. Lou Holder, Emmy Award-winning D.C. area broadcaster and journalism professor. Wisdom Martin, morning anchor for WUSA TV9 and author of Pass Interference, History of the Black Quarterback in the NFL, and Darren Snyder, award-winning sports columnist and Howard University journalism professor. Hey, everybody. Everybody all excited?
Yes, sir.
Great to be on with you, Harold.
Look, let me tell you, I'm excited. I'm going to have to get a whole bunch of popcorn for this weekend, because this is going to be. I'm excited. I mean, I really, really am. And for me to be excited, there's got to be something to it. Okay, let me give you the quick rundown. We all know for the weekend: Buffalo Bills at the Denver Broncos, San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. That's on Saturday. On Sunday, the Houston Texans take on the New England Patriots. Then the Chicago Bears host the LA Rams. Kelsey, I'll start with you. What's your prediction? What's the thing that's standing out most to you for this weekend?
I think there's so many questions right now because a lot of these teams, a lot of people didn't initially pick to go to San Francisco and hoist the Lombardi Trophy. And then in the midst of all the games happening, we have 7 coaching positions open right now. So all that to say, I think there's a lot of people who are curious as the teams that fall, what will happen to them. But I think the biggest thing right now is, again, just some of these underdogs that have rose. I mean, you said Denver Broncos. I mean, who had them making the postseason? What Sean Payton has done. Bo Nix, somebody I think that doesn't get talked about a lot. Chicago Bears and their resurgence, right? I mean, just last season, a lot of people had questions about Caleb Williams. We were talking more about his fingernails than his football play. But all of a sudden now we see him, right, in the postseason. There's a lot of talk right now about Sam Darnold, right, in the oblique injury. What will he be full and ready to go? Christian McCaffrey, just, who he is and continues to be. So all that to say, I think there's so many storylines. I'm so excited for these games. But again, I'm most excited because a lot of these teams, Harold, that you mentioned that we're talking about, a lot of people had written off. I think CJ Stroud, what he's been able to do. I know a lot of people were questioning him after the 5 fumble game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. What him and DeMarco have done is spectacular. And again, Houston trying to make history once again in the divisional round. So all that to say, I think if you're a football fan, you're excited. Harold, you didn't even touch on college football, which we also will see.
Yeah, well, that's coming. That's coming up for Monday. Yeah, we're going to talk about Indiana, Lou, for all kinds of reasons. But anyway, Darren. So, Darren, I can't hear you, man. Get your microphone squared away. Once you get that squared away, I'll come back to you. Wisdom, let me ask you this. 2 black quarterbacks in the playoffs, CJ Stroud, Kalen Williams. Your thoughts about them?
Well, I've always liked Caleb Williams as a quarterback. I thought he was in a bad situation last year because I thought the coaching, Eberflus, was horrific, and I just thought that he was just out there in the way. And Ben Johnson's a much better coach. They're in a much better situation. And I still don't think that he is getting enough credit for what he has been able to do in his second year. I mean, he set a record for the Bears for passing. I know the Bears have a history of not having the best quarterbacks in the entire history, but he set a record during the regular season, and he's making some clutch plays at the end of games. And they're coming back. Now, they're coming back. It's not like they have these big leads and they're blowing them, but they're down, and he's able to sustain everything's coming his way and to turn it around and to get some victories in there. And Stroud and that defense in Houston is amazing as well. I just hope they can keep it going. Now, Chicago playing against the Rams, that's a tough out. The only the advantage though that Chicago has is it's in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. So the Rams, the West Coast Rams in that good sunny weather have to go to cold Chicago, and that's never an easy thing to do. So, and I like the Rams other than that. So if I'm picking, don't listen to me. That's what I'm going to say. Don't listen to me because don't bet any money on anything that I say, because whoever I pick is going to lose. So I am going to yield my time right here and not pick anybody and stay perfect. How about that, Harold? How about that?
Hey, look, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being safe. Darren, what do you think stands out the most for you going into the playoffs this weekend? Why can't I hear Darren? I don't know why we can't hear Darren. Go ahead, Lou. We're still gonna. I guess Darren is giving us.
So while we get D straightened out, I just want to point out two things. Kelsey talked about it a little bit, and Wisdom the same. What stands out to me is there are 3 quarterbacks in that 5 quarterback class from 2 years ago that are in the playoffs. Bo Nix, Drake May, and Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels is not in the play. Those quarterbacks, and when you throw in a Michael Penix and a J.J. McCarthy, those guys are all going to be measured against one another. And it's just so obvious, as Wisdom said, the first year for Caleb Williams and Eberflus was an absolute disaster, right? But now he's taking quantum leaps in his second year, right? Drake May is now getting really comfortable in Vrabel's system. Sean Payton came back to the NFL and wanted Bo Nix for a reason, right? I bring all of that because we're here in the Washington, D.C. area. There is a huge concern about the whole Jaden Daniels evolution and Dan Quinn, okay? So, again, the last thing that we wanted here in Washington was for that young man to have multiple voices in his ear year after year. The last 15 quarterbacks that have come through Washington have all experienced multiple people in their ear when it comes to the quarterback position. David Blau is the new offensive coordinator. I mean, the good part about it is not a lot of people know what he's going to do because he's never done it before. The bad part about it is he's never been in the hot seat when you have to make offensive coordinator plays, right? You have this franchise, this generational quarterback that now is seeing the Drake Mays and the Caleb Williams and the Bo Nix now taking a leap. Right. So that is what I see. I see a lot of quarterbacks in that class playing football this weekend and not Jaden Daniels. Right. That's the first thing that I see. Yeah. The second thing that I see is that I am so glad that this is happening. Defense still wins football games. What the Texans were able to do and what is still profound, even going back to the Super Bowl when the Philadelphia Eagles sacked Patrick Mahomes 6 times, only sending 3 or 4 players, defense still matters in this league. And that's where Washington is also in a real huge deficit because we right now don't have a defensive coordinator. And are you even really, really fixed on even Dan Quinn calling defensive plays? So defense is still to be reckoned with. And all of the teams that are still in the tournament have halfway decent defenses. And that quarterback position, which is the most important position on the field, everybody in that class, or at least two out of the 3 in that class, are playing this weekend, and not Jaden Daniels.
Darren, can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah, is this thing on?
Yes, it most certainly is on. Playoffs? Did somebody say something about playoffs? Come on, Darren. What is?
Yeah, we're talking about playoffs.
That was probably Verizon. It's still a Verizon issue.
Probably so.
Why is we talking about the Washington Commanders? We're talking about the playoffs, bro.
You clearly weren't listening because I equated the playoffs.
No, we were trying to
get I heard you say
Darren, what's looking out to you this week?
Just get your mic fixed, bro.
There we go.
When did you sign on with the team, bro?
All right. So Darren, now that we got you, what is standing out to you for the weekend? What is your prediction for the weekend, or the thing that really, really is sticking in your head right now?
Well, I just continue to marvel at the NFL, how it just continues to dunk on every other sports league. I'm kind of mad because now they just decided they got to bogart Christmas. There was no need for them to play on Christmas, but they just because they can, But these teams, I love Houston's defense. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact they got a black coach and a black QB. It's going to be hard for me to root against that double combination. The Rams are a tough out for Chicago, but Chicago, if you believe in, the it thing, I think they won 7 games when they was trailing in the last 2 minutes. What kind of nonsense is that? But unfortunately, you can't keep counting on that because speaking about Washington, they won a lot of games late last year. And then, at a certain point, that's going to run out. So I would love to see Houston advance. I kind of, Josh Allen is amazing. I love watching him play. Seattle without Darnold, that's going to hurt their chances. But I'm not really big in the prediction game. It's a 50-50. Any team you pick, you got a 50% chance of winning anyway. So I'll leave the predictions to the betting analysts. But I'm just anticipating a great week of football, and I can't wait for it to get started.
I have to confess, as some of you all know, I used to live in Buffalo, and I don't want to jinx it with the ghost of Jim Kelly still hanging over, the Buffalo Bills. I mean, this was just the playoffs. We're nowhere near the AFC Championship or even the Super Bowl. But I'm really rooting for Josh Allen, my former co-anchor at the NBC affiliate in Buffalo. We were texting each other. We haven't seen her in decades. She's still my girl, and she was about to have a heart attack during the Bills' last game. But I'm telling you, Buffalo is my sentimental favorite. I do want to talk about a real quick sentimental favorite for the HU folks. Ted White hired this week for the Bison as the new head coach. Give me the rundown, Darren. We're going to talk to him next week. But, for those who love Bison football but don't know who Ted White is, give me the quick resume.
Well, I got to kind of wonder how much you love Bison football if you don't know who Ted White is. Maybe you're kind of new to the party, so I can understand that. But Ted White is one of the GOATs of Howard, one of the GOATs of the MEAC. And he's had a long coaching career. He's coached in the NFL. He's coached in college. So it's great to see him come back home. HBCU coaching gigs being what they are, it's not unusual for coaches to stay for a little while, then move on to something else. So can't be mad when these coaches come and leave after a few years. I'm glad to see the program has gotten back up and running to a degree. I'm expecting great things from Ted. Offensively, I hope he gets somebody who can sling it around because, that's what he did. And for a while, we had a tradition of some really good quarterbacks, Jay Walker, Ted White, Pep Hamilton, some cats who was really putting some numbers up. So I look forward to Ted White era, and the Bison are feeling pretty good to bring one of our GOATs back home.
Mm-hmm. Lou, you have some thoughts. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kelsey.
I was just going to quickly add, watching the press conference with Ted White and alluding to what was mentioned, I thought, one, as we talk about just the importance of the community around, there was a lot of emphasis on the support that he's asking for the program. He's not immune to knowing the NIL era that we're in and knowing the need to bring players to Howard. It doesn't matter how great your coach is, right, for competition. Also, want to allude to some of the folks in the crowd. He talked about the importance of Doug Williams, and Howard University's president talked about Doug Williams actually being really instrumental in his hiring. And then, as was mentioned, Pep Hamilton, he also talked about just on his own visit, what Pep Hamilton meant to him as a player back then. And so to have just the support, I think, of these local coaches, right, that we say our local coach, right, and Pep Hamilton and what he's doing up the street from Howard. And then, of course, Doug Williams and what he continues to do with the Commanders. I know, obviously, Williams' name in the news as well with his son, DJ Williams, also a Gremlinite going to the Commanders as a quarterbacks coach. Just wanted to allude to, I just thought it was really sentimental. He was very emotional, as he talked about just meant to get that job. And so again, I just thought it was really important. You could see like what he wants to do for Howard football to really grow it, right, into something that can be Howard folks can continue to be proud of, such as the days that he was playing.
Lou, I'm going to hear from you and also wisdom about Ted White, but I need to take a really quick break. Don't forget, you can hear this in every edition of the Daily Drum Insight segment via podcast on WHUR.com. The original
Now,
Quiet
it looks
Storm
like
with
I have
Raheem
lost
Devon
my
is
ability
next
to hear
on
here.
WHUR. Well, I tell you, wisdom, he's just noisy. What are we going to do with wisdom? I love him. We're going to tighten wisdom up on the other side. You heard him talking while I was trying to take a break. I tell you, some people just don't know how to act. This conversation on the Sports Reporters Roundtable continues on Sirius XM channel 141 in just a few seconds. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. We continue our conversation at the Sports Reporters Roundtable. My guests are sports columnist Darren Snyder, WUSA TV morning anchor Wisdom Noisy Martin, sports journalist Lou Holder, and sports journalist Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Wisdom, are you okay, man? You doing okay over there? Can you hear us?
Now, here's the thing. I know y'all think I'm crazy. Y'all think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But for some reason, is my mic working? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
This modern technology is killing me. Is killing me.
You didn't get your $20 from Verizon.
This is going great, by the way. This is going great.
Okay.
This is just like the Commander season. My whole experience right here is going just like the Commander season. I'm just flailing away here. Oh.
Oh, well, while you're flailing, I want to continue the conversation briefly about Ted White coming back to Howard University as the head coach. Your thoughts about that?
He said he can't hear you.
Yeah, he still can't hear us.
We're
going to get back to wisdom in a bit. Lou, I know you have some thoughts.
Yeah, I just love what the Howard University management is doing, bringing back maybe former athletes to be in coaching roles. I experienced it firsthand when my son got to Howard University, and within weeks of him arriving, the administration brought in David Oliver to coach the track team. Olympian, Howard standout, and what David Oliver has been able to do with that track program over the last 5-6 years has been really, really inspiring. And so to see it happen again with football and possibly other sports that I'm not aware of, but I just love the fact that that university in particular is hiring alum to come back and be in head coaching and administrative roles. So that's what I just wanted to add. It's just good to see it continue, and it's not a flash in the pan. That administration and that sports administration makes it a point to highlight their former athletes and bring them back to teach the younger bison.
Absolutely. I think you make an excellent point. Wisdom, are you with us, buddy?
I am with you.
Let's talk about Ted White.
Ted White, I mean, I agree with everybody else. This is an amazing hire. His track record speaks for itself. He was an assistant coach with a couple of NFL teams. He also played in the NFL. He played as a undrafted free agent with the Kansas City Chiefs and with the Jacksonville Jags for a little while. But he was an amazing quarterback when he was at Howard. So to bring somebody like that back into the fold, for the young recruits to see, this is a guy who set all of these records. He's a legend. So, and Howard means so much to that community. This is a big deal, and I think it's a great hire, and it means big things for the Howard football program.
Speaking of coaches, Mike Tomlin with the Steelers out after 19 years. Kelsey, that I have mixed feelings about it because there are some people just like John Harbaugh, where you just think they're going to be with that team forever, which is rare in and of itself. 19 seasons for Tomlin. Your thoughts about that?
Yeah, well, first, Harold, I'll tell you, I don't think many in Baltimore thought John Harbaugh would be with that team forever. We started to see some of the disgruntlement with that Baltimore Ravens franchise after not living up to expectations. I mean, let's be honest. Lamar Jackson, 2-time MVP, in my opinion, should be 3-time MVP. We know he was a runner-up. Baltimore, on paper, had the roster. And let's remember, at the beginning of the season, many thought Baltimore would have what it takes, of course, to get to San Francisco. Of course, nobody could have foresaw the injuries, especially with quarterback Lamar Jackson. I think with Harbaugh, there's a lot of questions when it comes there. There's always been questions on that offense. How many times have people been screaming at their television for Derrick Henry, King Henry, to get the ball more in certain instances? And then there's always been questions about Lamar's quarterback play, meaning, should Lamar be Lamar? Do you want him to be more so a stereotypical quarterback standing in that pocket when everyone on this panel knows why he is so great and his elusiveness. So seeing less of that, but I think all that to say, Mike Tomlin, again, been there a long time. When you think of Pittsburgh Steelers football, I think Mike Tomlin was one of the faces of that. And you think what he was able to accomplish at some of the highest heights. You think about who he's working for, the Rooney family, one of the most, you could say, prestigious families when it comes to football. And now we're hearing, of course, that he's actually going to step away from football, at least for this upcoming season, and not coach, because otherwise we thought he'd be hoisted right to the top of that coaching carousel. But I think he also hears the noise, right? At the end of the day, it's what have you done lately, and you need to do something in the postseason. Steelers fans are tired of remembering the last time they were able to get to extreme success in the Super Bowl. So that being said, I think people like the job that Mike Tomlin had done, even though I think there's a lot of Steelers fans who don't realize it because they're complaining. And again, I think he's going to be a tough person to replace. Obviously, they have great respect for him. We saw he went out on his own decision and some of the tributes playing. But I think there's going to be a lot of questions there. Like the AFC North is going to be competitive, I think, for years to come. I think I have questions, of course, about what's going to happen in Cleveland. I have questions about Cincinnati and some of their moves. But all that to say, I hate to see Tomlin's respected by everyone. You see the respect and admiration. People thought that would be a much, longer. Tomlin believed in Aaron Rodgers. Whatever people feel about Aaron Rodgers, they can think those thoughts. It looks like wisdom is showing.
Wisdom putting the thumbs down.
Garbage.
Hiding his displeasure. But all that to say, I think Mike Tomlin, whether he decides, and I think he will decide to come back to the coaching ranks. He's still a young coach too, by means, right? 53, so not old in that sense that he can come back and coach. But I'm excited again that he's going to take some time off, see his next move. But I hate to see him go. Anybody that's a Baltimore fan, you lived for those Harbaugh Tomlin rivalries. The last game that Pittsburgh and Baltimore played literally lived up to the expectation, right? After Tyler Loop missed field goal, and you see what happens. But all that to say, again, I think Mike Tomlin, especially when it comes to black head coaches, the standard that he set for greatness, I really do think there's no one like Coach T.
Yeah, Darren.
Harold, let me. Can I please talk about?
Okay, but then we're going to go to Darren because you gave Aaron Rodgers a thumbs down. But
absolutely,
the look on Darren's face was it was priceless.
Yeah. Well, this is what I'm going to say about Mike Tomlin. I respect Mike Tomlin. I love Mike Tomlin. I like the Steelers organization, but I had questions about who's actually running that organization because for years with Ben Roethlisberger and after him, they never had a quarterback. They didn't have any plans for a quarterback. They wasted a draft pick on Kenny Pickett. They had Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, it was far better than that garbage that they put out there this year with Aaron Rodgers, who, by the way, is probably one of the most overrated quarterbacks during this time period. It made no sense. And I said, when they got Aaron Rodgers, I said, he is going to get Mike Tomlin fired. He didn't get him fired, but this was his last season. Aaron Rodgers is horrible as a football player at this point. He's very mediocre, and his attitude and demeanor is horrible for any football team that he plays for. He needs to go away, and I'm tired of people giving him a pass because he won a Super Bowl 15 years ago and hasn't been back. He couldn't beat the 49ers when he was in Green Bay. So get over this whole garbage about Aaron Rodgers being great. Move on. Sorry to hear about Mike Tomlin, but somebody with the Steelers signed this dude, and it actually ruined his last season in Pittsburgh because if it wasn't for that missed kick in Baltimore, they would have missed the playoffs. Baltimore just happened to be worse. Forget Aaron Rodgers. Garbage. Now
Darren, is he right?
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, his numbers speak for themselves. So
yes, they do. Look at his playoff record.
Well, I'm not here to praise or bury Aaron Rodgers. One thing I will say, though, Kelsey mentioned the 2-time MVP, should have been 3. we should start calling Lamar the 3-time first team All NFL. Because, I mean, he was 3 times first team All NFL, which you can argue trumps the MVP because that's him against all the other quarterbacks. But Tomlin, I was glad that if he wanted to, that he stepped away. I was glad to see him, go out on his own terms. I can imagine he was tired of hearing the fire Tomlin chants. He was tired of hearing all of that. And he probably, I mean, honestly, 19 years is a long time. Try something else. He might never come back. He might decide TV is too good and it's much less stressful. And I can't blame him for that either. You have to really, be wanting to deal with that. And if he does, great. If he doesn't, more power to him. But I think Pittsburgh, took him for granted at the end. They took winning records. The man never had a losing season. They took that for granted. Yeah, he didn't do well in the playoffs, but look how many teams don't even get to the playoffs. So I'm happy for Mike, and I'm curious to see what the Steelers do next.
Lou, what do you say about the Tomlin, Tomlin and Harbaugh situation, especially with him now going to the New York Football Giants?
So I echo a lot of what Darren just said. I mean, all the Steelers fans who wanted a change from Tomlin, well, good luck with that, because if you go back and you look at the timeline of what Bill Cowher did and what Tomlin did, as far as Super Bowls won and Super Bowls lost, playoff records, whatever, they're kind of comparable. But for some reason, we couldn't take any more of Tomlin. But Cowher was doing the same exact thing. It is hard to win in the league, right? And so the consistency, yo to the Noops, I'm going to put it up there, achievement in every field of human endeavor, 19 seasons and no losing record. But again,
Bravo.
Washington would have taken that last 19 years in a heartbeat, right? A lot of franchises would have taken those last 19 years in a heartbeat. And so I'm actually glad, like Darren said, that he went out on his own terms. I do think that he is, going to kill it in the television space. But I also feel, again, he was not fired. He left. So now any team that wants to get him is going to have to trade for him, just like the New Orleans Saints had to trade with the Denver Broncos to get Sean Payton, right? So that's going to be the kind of thing. Who is going to want to trade because they do own the rights to Mike Tomlin? And I know Darren doesn't like me talking about bringing Washington into the fold, but I will say this. If Dan Quinn doesn't have a good year, you can't tell me that Josh Harris is telling Adam Peters that, you know what? A coach like that doesn't come around a lot. And if he's available and wants to be pursued to come back to the NFL, right down from the 757 in Virginia to coach with that quarterback, again, that's what I'm saying. The Mike Tomlin leaving has changed the landscape of a lot. And then Harbaugh going to the Giants, it's an arms race now. He's looking and he sees Jackson Dart. He sees Scatterboo. He sees Neighbors. And he's like, okay, all right. And so all of this time, people are making power moves in the division that the Commanders are in. It's going to be very, very interesting because I see with Tomlin and I saw with Harbaugh the same thing I saw when I was in Philly when Andy Reid's voice just got stale. Great coaching, but just got stale there. Andy Reid goes on to Kansas City, wins multiple Super Bowls. I think that both Harbaugh and Tomlin, when they come back into the league, they're going to be successful because I don't think it was their coaching. I just think that their voice was stale to that franchise or maybe, that media market or what have you. But I still think those coaches were phenomenal. And everybody in Baltimore and everybody in Pittsburgh is like, well, we need to change. Well, good luck. You got it.
Yeah, to be fair, Harbaugh does have to own, like I'm a Giants fan. I'm from New York. People acting like we're going to have a Super Bowl parade, but pump the brakes. He does.
No, but the bar is so low, Darren, that him coming in there, even if he does mediocre, is more than what Dabo was doing.
It would be better, but the man did have a terrible record with double-digit leads in the fourth quarter.
Ooh, yes, talk about it.
I mean, and he did have some not giving. I mean, I'm glad we got him. I'm glad that not we. I'm glad the
I can't
Giants.
tell. I can't tell that you're glad.
I'm glad.
I mean, they threw him the bag though to get him $100 million. Let's also put that out there. They offered everything to him.
Yeah, and let us say real quick, last word on the New York Giants. They talked about Scatterboo. Scatterboo isn't scatting anywhere right now because he was seriously hurt during the end of the season, which was really tough to see because he was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic. So we'll have to see what happens with him going forward. I did want to bring this one thing up, and this is as a football fan's perspective, and I'm kind of doing this 30,000 foot observation. And I'll start with you, Kelsey. I know everybody's talking about kickers. I'm sorry, coaches and quarterbacks, but to me, this was the year of the kicker.
Ooh.
Because these games were so close, literally coming down to the last few seconds. And we had some kickers who really performed exceptionally well, and then some who did not. Am I off base here if I were to say that this was the season of the kicker?
No, I think you're absolutely right. Again, we can stay on Tomlin and Harbaugh. Tyler Loop, and God bless his mentions, that got absolutely shattered after that Baltimore Ravens Pittsburgh Steelers game. And there was many Ravens fans who said, well, if we had Justin Tucker, would have been in the postseason. And of course, Justin Tucker, I think we talked about on the show, carried a lot of baggage, and there's a reason why he's not on that franchise. But still, in terms of his actual performance in the NFL, one of the standards. And honestly, I think the season one we saw some amazing kicks being made, right? But we also saw games cost because of that. So I think you're absolutely right. I think there is a lot of conversation on the coaches, Harold, rightfully so, right? When you think about somebody like Mike Vrabel and what he's done with the New England Patriots, Liam Cohen, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and of course, we talked about Ben Johnson on the show, right? First season with the teams and what they've been able to do. But I do think to that point, as you're looking at college football, I do think, again, you're going to have to look closer at the future, of those guys. Most notably Steve Biscotti in that post press conference for the Baltimore Ravens, said, hey, if Tyler Loop had made that kick, Harbaugh would have got another week or so, right? Essentially saying
another week,
4 days,
right? Like of what happened. But you better believe, and especially, I have to say, the Tyler Loop, like, it's hard to come after somebody like Justin Tucker, right? I think everybody on this panel can acknowledge that. Literally,
no pun intended.
Right? You're coming after I gotta mute on that one. I didn't even know what to say after that one, Harold.
The drum has gotten diabolical, baby.
Yeah, that was wrong. That was
wrong.
If you remember, Justin Tucker, he wasn't like he used to be. He was starting
right. Last season, he was struggling. That's why I just saw Ravens fans literally on social media. That last season for Baltimore, I did not trust, even for the short kicks, right, by NFL. Mm-hmm. So absolutely right. All that to say, Harold, you're absolutely right. I do think there's going to be a lot more emphasis on kickers in the college ranks. And again, remember, is this something teams need to look at to start drafting, right? Or is that something, again, that you kind of just put off and just hope that a good one falls to your wayside?
I would throw in not just the kicking. I think the special teams portion of the actual game, the game inside the game, punters. I mean, we've seen it here with Tressway and how valuable he has been at certain times. But I think not just the kicking, but the punting, the holder and the snapper. There was some plays where, it's like that portion of the game sometimes gets overlooked, but when they need it, right? I think that also goes into your storytelling, Harold, of the year, this year, that there was a number of plays where there was a block kick, there was a kickoff return. That portion of the game seemed to have decided a lot more than just the actual field goal kicker. There was just punting and exchanges and people blocking punts and stuff like that. There was a lot of that this year that could be thrown into that storyline.
Let's talk about college football. Indiana versus Miami for the National Football Championship on Monday night. That is going to be, an amazing game. Indiana, the university where Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity was founded, if for no other reason if for no other reason, Lou, that's where I am. But
they are red. They're
yeah,
red.
that's true. Red and white. Yeah, they most certainly are. Crimson and cream. But let's throw out that most important issue and talk about, my goodness, wisdom, the reality. Gosh, Indiana undefeated.
It is
A basketball school.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to think of. Not only are they winning, but they're dominating people. The way they're beating up on people, and Kurt Signetti with the Google me, all I do is win. I love it. I don't know the guy, but I love his swagger. I love his attitude. To watch Indiana, a school that has not won even a Big Ten until this year, hadn't won a Big Ten championship since 44. 1940. Do you know my grandmother was at Indiana in 1944? After Jackson State, she went to Indiana because to go to grad school because they were recruiting because the whole Southern thing. They wouldn't let black folks go to Southern schools. But that's not the point. I said that to tie it in. That's how long it's been since Indiana has been good, has been really good in football, and they are dominating. I watched them play the last 5 games of the season, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. The way they were running roughshod over people and the way they destroyed Oregon on national television from the word jump. I mean, it's incredible. I love this story, by the way. It's an amazing story. And I don't have a dog in that fight, but I wouldn't mind seeing Indiana hoist that trophy because it would be probably, wouldn't you guys say, one of the biggest stories in the history of college football to see that team turn around in 2 or 3 years?
Yep.
It's already it is. Already. You know what else was founded in Indiana too, right? 3 letters. Anyway, KKK. The KKK was founded in Indiana too.
Yeah, right. That's the other.
Indiana. That story, like Winston, I can't get enough of this story. And Kurt Signetti, who was just up the road at James Madison, he's smug, he smirks, that man. All he does is win. Of course, he's got a bunch of 28-year-olds playing for him, but hey, whatever it takes, right? And they are mauling people. But I grew up as a fan of the U. So emotionally, I love the story. I'd love to see them be undefeated and win. But part of me is like, no, the U is back. How long the people have been waiting for the U to be back? Mm-hmm. And the U has the opportunity to make this a good game. Indiana has killed a lot of people, but they've been in some close games. The game against was it Penn State when they had to get the last second touchdown in the end zone. So I'm hoping for a good game, a close game, comes down to the wire. I wouldn't mind either one winning, although Indiana's story is unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
And juicy subplot about it being in Miami Stadium.
Right.
That's a juicy subplot there, and I don't think Indiana has faced the kind of exotic defensive looks that Miami can bring. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I think that this is one of those actual championship games that is just going to be fun to watch because there are storylines galore on either side.
Yeah. And
it's not one of the Alabama, LSU, what I mean, it's actually an old school love and one that you're just like, yo, is this team gonna go through like a knife through butter in the championship game too? So it's gonna be fun.
Smash mouth football, definitely, Kelsey. Indiana is a machine. Just well-oiled stainless steel.
Yeah.
But certainly for a lot of people, Miami is an emotional favorite too.
Yeah. Let's remember, y'all, Carson Beck's last game, right? I mean, no more football after this on the collegiate level and looking, to go off obviously to brighter pastures. And he has an interesting story in itself as Lou talks about storyline. You think about his journey coming to Miami. And I just think about the beginning of the season. I was talking college football. Indiana was a number 20 preseason rank. It's like number 20 in the preseason. We're talking about them playing in the National Football Championship game. So you talk about just all the wild storylines around that. I think, again, what they've done is phenomenal. But Miami, I think they know they have something to prove. They know they are huge underdogs. I remember the point in the season when they lost the 2 back-to-back games to unranked opponents and everybody had wrote them off. But then they come back right into the 3-game win streak. And then they come back now and go on to win 7. And now, again, look at where they are. So all that to say, I don't know. I think a lot of people are giving Indiana the rightful credit because they've earned it. Fernando Mendoza is obviously special. We saw what he was able to do and has been able, again, just to carry with him, but also just the significance. Lou talked about it, where they're playing, what it would mean for the U team. Also, who doesn't love Michael Irvin on the sideline for Miami, hyping up that football team.
And Ray Lewis.
And Ray Lewis, right? You think about all the greats that all of us watch and why many of us fell in love with the U and that football program. This is their best finish in 23 years for that football program. So again, I think we're going to have a good football game. I think people are easily giving it to Indiana because of what we've seen, but I don't think, again, it's just, you can't just hand it to them yet because Miami has a lot to prove in this game. So I'm looking Monday night. I will be locked in. Don't text me. Do not disturb. Everybody knows where I will be.
Hey, look, I just want to thank you all so much for taking your time to educate and celebrate this sports conversation. I'm just a basic fan. Don't know the numbers, barely know the players, but Lord knows I love the game. Kelsey, Nicole Nelson, Lou Holder, Darren Snyder, wisdom.
Hey, can I throw in one more thing, Harold?
Real quick, you got 30 seconds.
So I want to congratulate Bobby Wagner for getting his master's degree from Howard University in the middle of the football season. So again, we talk about excellence and the fact that this player don't know where he's going to be, don't know what role he's going to have. 2,000 tackles, only Ray Lewis and London Fletcher are in that club with him. But the fact that he got his master's degree from Howard University and he will be walking in May with his diploma, I want to celebrate that because that's not talked about a lot in football. It's all about the stuff on the field. But this player had the actual understanding to think about life after football, set an example while playing football, getting his master's degree. He's part owner of the Seattle Storm in the WNBA. Just great things for Bobby Wagner, and I just wanted to take that time to acknowledge that.
Bravo.
Absolutely. Love you all, but let me just say I can always count on Lou to keep it blackety black. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Look, I'm going to be calling you soon because
thanks, Harold.
Thanks, Harold. Championship to talk about. That is the Daily Drum for Friday, January 16th, 2026. For News Director Renee Nash, I'm Harold Fisher. Good night and have a wonderful